Have you ever noticed that the most mediocre person in your social circle is living better than you? Not because they're smarter, not because they have more opportunities, but because, while you analyze, they take. Your brain sold you a sophisticated lie, and you bought it without questioning. It told you that clarity comes before action, that you need to feel ready, that there's a right moment. All lies. Clarity comes after. Confidence comes from doing. The right moment is an excuse your mind created to keep you safe and small. In the next 14 minutes, you'll discover the 5 neural switches that separate those who act from those who watch their own life pass by. The third one is the dirtiest and most effective. Few know it. Even fewer use it. You will. And at the end, you'll have 60 seconds to choose. Be another one who got the message, or be the rare one who actually did something with it, because there's a brutal difference between knowing and doing, and that difference defines everything. Here's the truth no one tells you. You're not stuck because you fear failure. You're stuck because deep down, you enjoy the drama of being someone who's trying. It's safer to be potential than to be measured, as long as you don't really act. You can keep thinking you're special. Unrealized potential is infinite. Action brings results, and results bring truth, the truth about who you really are, not who you imagine yourself to be. And that truth scares you more than any failure. Your brain learned a lie 200,000 years ago. Staying still keeps you alive. When our ancestors heard a noise in the savannah, those who hesitated survived. Those who ran without thinking became lunch. But you're not running from tigers. You're running from yourself. And here's the cruelest psychological trick. Every time you think without acting, your brain releases a small dose of chemical comfort, a brief relief. Cortisol drops. You feel productive for having analyzed the situation. But you did nothing. This cycle is called avoidance reinforcement. The more you delay, the more your brain registers. Staying still protects me. It's a chemical addiction disguised as prudence. And you feed this addiction every single day. A Stanford University study with 2,847 participants revealed something disturbing. Those who act within the first 5 seconds have a 73% chance of completing the task. Those who think a little more, 91% quit before starting. The difference isn't willpower. It's not discipline. It's breaking the cycle before the mind builds sophisticated arguments to keep you exactly where you are. You know this, but you keep waiting. Why? Because being someone who's preparing protects you from judgment. Action exposes you. Thought hides you. You can spend years preparing and get praised for trying. But the moment you act, the world measures you. And measurement hurts. But hiding isn't living. It's just existing in a safe, small version of who you could be. Now, you know the truth. The question is, will you do something with it? Or will you file away this information in the pile of things you'll someday apply? The first secret isn't to act. It's to see without fusing. Most people obey their thoughts as if they were divine commands. I'm not capable. You paralyze. It will go wrong. You quit. It's not the right time. You postpone. But these aren't facts. They're neural events, background noise from the brain trying to keep you in the comfort zone. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing the thoughts. And this simple distinction changes everything. Here's the hack. Label the thought the exact moment it appears. When the inner voice says, "I can't do it," you respond silently. "I'm having a catastrophic thought." This 0.3-second micro pause undoes the fusion between thought and truth. You have thoughts. You are not your thoughts. It's like watching text scrolling on a conveyor belt. It moves forward. You remain still, watching. Imagine the thought as a cloud passing in the sky. You don't need to enter it. You don't need to argue with it. You observe and let it pass. Most people live inside their own mental narratives, prisoners of stories they tell themselves. You'll watch from the outside. Distance creates choice. Choice allows action. When you stop obeying every mental impulse, fear loses its veto power over your decisions. And then you become dangerous to your own mediocrity. This technique comes from acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, developed by Stephen Hayes. But the concept is ancient. Buddhists have been doing this for 2,500 years. The difference is that now we have neuroscience proving it. When you label an emotion or thought, amygdala activity, fear center, decreases by 30% in less than 2 seconds. It's like pressing a pause button on panic. Practice this now. Think of something you're postponing. Feel the discomfort arise. Now label. I'm feeling resistance. Did you notice? The thought still exists, but you created a millimeter of space between you and it. And in that space lies freedom. Paralysis isn't born because the task is difficult. It's born because it's too big for the brain to process. And the brain fears what doesn't fit on the screen. Change my life is abstract, vague, immense. Walk for 5 minutes is concrete, measurable, possible. The mind freezes on what it can't visualize, so reduce the scale until it's impossible to fail. Here's the brutal rule. Commit to 5 mandatory minutes. Don't negotiate. Don't evaluate if it's worth it. 5 minutes. With a visible timer in front of you, use a simple implementation intention formula. At time, minimal physical action. Examples. At 7 a.m., I put on my shoes. At 9 a.m., I open the document. At 8 p.m., I turn on the camera. Not, I'm going to start writing. Not, I'm going to work out. Put on shoes, open file. Turn on camera. The first visible gesture is everything. Because motivation doesn't precede movement. It's born from it. This is the inversion no one told you about. You don't wait to feel like it to act. You act. And the desire appears along the way. A body in motion releases dopamine. A mind in motion only releases cortisol and anxiety. And here's the neural trick. When you make the action impossible to fail, the brain stops resisting. You don't need to run 5 kilometers. You need to tie your shoelaces and take 3 steps outside. You don't need to write 2,000 words. You need to open the file and write 1 sentence, even if it's I don't know what to write now. The rest happens through neurological inertia. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. This is Newton's first law applied to human behavior. A University of Pennsylvania study with 1,200 participants showed those who commit to 5 minutes complete the task 67% of the time. Those who commit to finishing everything complete it 11%. Why? Because the brain has no argument against 5 minutes. It's ridiculous to refuse. So you start, and once you start, resistance dissolves. Momentum takes control. Make it so absurdly easy that your mind has no ammunition to negotiate. And when it tries, and it will, remember, you're not negotiating. You're training the brain to obey you, not the fear. Here's the secret that separates dominators from the dominated. Brace yourself. This goes against everything you've been taught about emotional balance and think before you act. Emotion isn't an obstacle. It's fuel. Have you ever felt anger and done in 5 minutes what you've been postponing for weeks? Have you ever felt shame and forced yourself to act just to prove you're not a coward? Have you ever felt fear and run faster than any motivation would make you run? The difference is brutal and simple. Weak people try to calm down before acting. People who dominate themselves use chaos as propulsion. Fear, shame, anger, urgency. Everything becomes movement. This is the neural hack that therapists avoid teaching because it sounds dangerous. But that's exactly why it works. Emotion is pure energy, and it always attaches to something. When it attaches to immobility, it becomes anxiety. You stay still, ruminating, suffering. When it attaches to movement, it becomes strength. You act, and the emotion dissolves in the process. Here's how you do it. Breathing anchor plus action. When you feel fear, shame, or anger, breathe slowly. 4 seconds in, 6 out. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calms without numbing. While breathing, move. Stand up, walk, write, clench your fists. Any gesture that shows the brain, I'm responding, not fleeing. Repeat quietly, fear is energy. I use chaos, or any neural command that resonates with you. The goal is to train the emotion action circuit so the act happens before fear builds sophisticated arguments. In neuroscience, this is called operant conditioning with somatic reinforcement. The brain learns faster from what the body feels while doing than from what it imagines while thinking. Functional MRI studies from Stanford University show something impressive. When you connect emotion to movement, dopamine increases 340% in the first 90 seconds, just visualizing the action. 12%. The difference is abysmal. Fear still exists after you act, but it loses authority. It becomes just background noise, present, but no longer in command. And here's the dirtiest trick of all. You can manufacture this emotional urgency when you need it. Don't wait for fear to appear naturally. Invoke it. Think the person who underestimated you, the time you wasted, the version of you that's waiting on the other side of the action you're not taking. Let that burn for 10 seconds, and then move with the fire. Balanced people stay comfortable in mediocrity. Dangerous people use discomfort as a springboard. Choose what you want to be. And understand, this isn't emotional manipulation. It's neural alchemy. You're taking fuel that already exists and redirecting it to where it serves. Action, not rumination. Psychologist Rollo May said something few fully understood. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. He was right. Anxiety arises when you're close to a choice that changes who you are. Most people flee. You're going to use it. Every morning, the mind proposes a contract. Just 5 more minutes. Tomorrow will be better. Today isn't the day. This dialogue isn't laziness. It's a self-preservation mechanism. Your brain trying to keep you safe, small, predictable. The tool to break this is brutal in its simplicity. Act before the conversation begins. Establish an anti-negotiation rule. When the alarm goes off, I get up in 3, 2, 1. Don't think. Don't renegotiate with your mind. 3, 2, 1. Movement. Use non-verbal physical triggers that eliminate decision points. Bright light in your face as soon as you wake up. Interrupts melatonin production in 30 seconds. Cold water on your face in the first 10 seconds. Activates the dive reflex. Reduces heart rate. Increases focus. Shoes. Next to the bed. Put them on before thinking. The act of putting on shoes sends a signal to the brain. We're leaving rest mode. Clothes separated the night before. One less decision in the morning. The idea is to eliminate friction points, because each decision is a door to hesitation, and hesitation is a door to regret. Here's the science. The brain massively spends glucose making decisions, what neuroscientists call decision fatigue. Psychologist Roy Baumeister proved this in a classic study. Judges analyzing parole requests were 65% more likely to approve in the morning at the end of the day. 10%. Why? Because neural energy was drained by hundreds of micro decisions throughout the day. When you wake up and immediately negotiate, get up now or wait, you burn brain glucose that should go to productive action result. You tire before you begin. Solution: automate the start. Public pre-commitment is also a powerful weapon. Send someone a message. At 7 a.m., I'm starting X. I'll send you a screenshot at 7:15 a.m. The social cost of quitting becomes greater than the emotional cost of action. Use this without guilt. Another tool: the Zeigarnik effect. The brain hates incomplete tasks and naturally seeks to complete them. Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik discovered this by observing waiters. They remembered incomplete orders perfectly, but immediately forgot completed ones. How to use this: leave something almost ready the night before. File open with the first sentence written. Shoes tied and next to the door. Breakfast ingredients separated. First study question written down. When you wake up, the brain sees something in progress and wants to finish. The decision was made yesterday. You just execute. Act before fear writes its arguments. Because if you wait, it always wins. Always. Fear has 200,000 years of evolution working in its favor. You have a 0.3-second window to act before it hijacks the narrative. Use that window. Or be hijacked. At first, discipline feels like friction. With repetition, it becomes a mirror. The final goal isn't to do the thing. It's to be the type of person who does the thing. Identity reduces cognitive load by 70%. If you're a writer, you don't need to decide to write. You write because that's what writers do. If you're a runner, you don't need motivation. You run because that's who you are. Most people try to build habits, and habits depend on motivation, context, energy. Identity is different. Identity is automatic. Here's how to build it. Minimum daily evidence. Each small action is a vote for the identity you want. It's not about grand results. It's about ridiculous consistency. Mark an X on the calendar. Write one line. Walk one block. Read one page. Do one push-up. Consistency matters more than intensity. Don't do 2 hours once. Do 10 minutes every day. The brain learns through spaced repetition. Small doses, high frequency. A University College London study with 96 participants showed it takes an average of 66 days for a behavior to become automatic. But the variation is huge, from 18 to 254 days, depending on complexity. The good news? Simple actions: drinking water, walking. Automate in 3 weeks. Complex actions: writing, training. Take 10 weeks. But all automate if you don't break the chain. System over goal. Don't say, I'm going to write a book. Say, every day at 6 a.m., I write for 15 minutes. The system is predictable. The goal is vague and distant. Systems create identities. Goals create frustration and comparison. James Clear popularized this in Atomic Habits, but the idea comes from Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert. Goals are for losers. Systems are for winners. Sounds arrogant, but it's statistically correct. Immediate repair after failure. You will fail. This isn't opinion, it's mathematics. The question is, what do you do after? Most quit completely. I already ruined everything. I'll restart Monday. Dominators apply the 1% repair. If you skip today, do a minimal version now. 1 minute, 1 page, 1 push-up. Doesn't matter the size. Matters breaking the all or nothing pattern. In cognitive behavioral therapy, this is called sustained behavioral activation, keeping the neural circuit active even at low intensity. The brain doesn't differentiate much between did little and did a lot, but it brutally differentiates between did something and did nothing. Identity environment. Transform your physical space into a mirror of the person you want to be. Notebook open on the desk, water bottle full and visible, playlist ready, shoes next to the door, book open at the marked page. Objects tell stories. Make sure they tell the right story about who you're becoming. Psychologist James Gibson called this affordances. The environment suggests actions. A chair suggests sitting. A couch suggests lying down. An open notebook suggests writing. Design your environment to suggest the identity you want. Aaron Beck, creator of CBT, said, "Thoughts influence emotions, but behaviors shape destiny." William James was more direct. If you want a quality, act as if you already had it. The truth is simple and brutal. You don't become confident and then act with confidence. You act with confidence until the brain recognizes the pattern as real. When doing becomes being, motivation is no longer necessary. Coherence takes control, and coherence is freedom, because you no longer need to convince yourself. You simply are. Let's consolidate the 5 switches. See without obeying. Label the thought. Neutralize fusion. Observe, don't enter. Shrink until there's no excuse. Reduce the goal until it's impossible to fail. 5 minutes. Timer. No negotiation. Feel and move. Together, always. Anchor emotion to movement. Use chaos as fuel, not as an excuse. Act before fear argues. Eliminate decision points. 3, 2, 1. Movement. No internal conversation. Be, not just do. Build daily evidence. System over goal. Identity over habit. Here's what you need to understand. Each technique is a weapon, but it only works if you use it. Knowledge without action is just sophisticated entertainment. And you're not here to be entertained. You're here to transform. So the real question isn't, does this work? The question is, will you apply or will you archive? Because the difference between those who transform their life and those who accumulate information is only one: execution. And execution doesn't need more knowledge. It needs decision. Here's what no one tells you about postponing. Every time you think without acting, you train the brain to distrust you. I'll start tomorrow. The brain hears, my words mean nothing. Do this 100 times, and you create a deep neurological pattern. Chronic self-betrayal. The brain stops believing in you. And when it doesn't believe, it sabotages. Result? Constant anxiety. Because you're always owing yourself falling self-esteem. Because you don't trust your own promises. Sense of powerlessness. Because you've seen that words don't become action. You become someone who talks but doesn't do. Promises but doesn't deliver. Plans but doesn't execute. And this corrodes identity from the inside out. The good news, each action, however small, is a vote in the opposite direction. A vote for I am reliable. A vote for my words have weight. A vote for I am someone who acts. Accumulate enough votes and the brain switches sides. It stops resisting and starts supporting you. But this only happens if you start now. You spent your life believing that thinking more would bring answers, that clarity should come before action. But gradually you realize excessive reasoning is a labyrinth, beautiful, complex, infinite. But with no exit, the mind promises control, delivers paralysis. The truth is that the path only reveals itself to those who walk it. The map you're looking for is hidden beneath the first step you haven't taken yet. Thinking matters, but it's only rehearsal. The stage is the act. In a world that worships analysis, action is a silent form of rebellion. The mind whispers, wait until you understand. The body responds, understand by doing. This inversion is a biological revolution. Each act reconfigures circuits, transforms doubt into experience, shapes what we call destiny. And then something curious happens. Fear remains, but loses its veto power. You act even while trembling. Courage isn't absence of fear. It's the choice not to obey it. With each attempt, the brain gathers evidence. I can survive discomfort, and at some point, you don't notice when, you cross the invisible border between thinking and being. What once required willpower now feels natural. The habit of acting becomes identity, and identity becomes your new form of rest. You acquire a permanent capacity, the ability to move even in uncertainty, and that is freedom. True peace doesn't come from understanding the world. It comes from fully participating in it. Now, test it. Choose one thing you postponed today. Can be small, can be ridiculous. Open the file, tie your shoes, write the first line, turn on the camera. You have 60 seconds, because if you close this without acting, your brain will archive all of this as interesting information. And tomorrow you'll be exactly where you are now, watching, thinking, postponing. So here's your choice. Be another one who understood but did nothing. Or be the rare one who acts before fear rewrites the arguments. Thought is the echo. Action is the sound. Go, now. Or close and admit, you prefer the comfort of illusion to the discomfort of truth. Your brain is deciding who you are now. The timer has started. What are you going to do?